Okay, so let's see the Tic Tac program. Okay, okay, so this is our main program, the entry program for a application. So first we are running our server socket, which is always listening at the port number 2000. So here, as I commented here, and in this line we are waiting for we will be waiting for two clients. So first we will be waiting the client one. When client one requests connection, it will get connected, and a new client object will be created. Same for client two also. We will be waiting for client to request connection, and a client object will be created for client two. After getting two clients, we will be creating a game engine and sending these two client details to the game engine object, and game engine it will be running from now then. So what is game engine actually? So game engine is where all the game related application will be working. So in the game engine app, you will have the client details. These client details contain the socket connection like read, write, all the details. And this game engine also contains the type of game this game engine is going to utilize. So for example, we are using tic tac toe as example for this application. So game engine will be utilizing tic tac toe. So after game engine gets initialized with two clients and with the game, that is tic tac toe here, we this class is implementing runnable, so we will be using the run method of the runnable class. uh, s- uh, hmm. So like in the run method, we will just sending the basic details to the clients first, like initial state, and then print the array, that is your tic-tac-toe array will be sending to the clients, both client 1 and client 2 here. And so client 1's the mark will be cross, and for client 2 the mark will be 0. So it is fixed here, so we are not take considering the like uh, clients input. So we have fixed for client one that it will always be cross and it will always be 0 for client 2. And after that, okay. And also if you can see in here, uh, in this while of exit, we have created if and else condition, like for example the play condition. So in this line, this means in this line the client one will this program will be asking for client one's input. And so you can see here there are two if and else, like if and else. So in this first if, this means that this program will be asking for client one's input, so client one will always be getting the first chance. Then after client one, the client 2 will be asked for his which move he wants to play. So this is also fixed here, that is client 1 will always be the first one to play his move. Then client 2 comes second. So we have not implemented with the choice who can play first or not. So we have fixed here who will be playing first. So client 1 will be playing first. So how it is doing, like we have created a boolean called chance true. So if the chance is true, client one will be this if condition will be executed, so the client one will be playing first. And after client one is has used his move, the chance will be made to false. So when the next time it comes into this while loop, this if becomes false and it enters into the else. So in the else, client 2 will be utilizing his move. After utilizing his move, the chance will be made to true again. In the next loop, so the client 1 will be getting his chance. So that is how this if and else is working here. And this while exit condition will keep on going until the game has ended. So that is how it is going here. Mm, okay. So now, before we get into this, what is this play function? Let me also show you what are this client class and tic-tac-toe game class. So in the client class, you can see it is the basic details of socket, input stream, output stream, and name. Name can be the client's name, like that, and we can add extra details also. So here we will in the constructor we will be getting all the details. Then initial setup. In the initial setup we will be like asking the client's name, type your name, then get the name and set into this name attribute. And we have created two functions like read and write. And read and write will the basic logic of utilizing the input stream and output stream, how to read and write from the socket. That is what we have implemented in these two functions. um, Back to the game engine. Now we will see what is tic-tac-toe class. So in the tic-tac-toe class we have created an array and a count. This count I will explain you later. The array is like your tic-tac-toe array, like it will be initialized to 9. So you have 9 places in your tic-tac array, and count will also be initialized to 0. So okay, let's see what are the basic functions here. Like marking zeros and crosses, this function will be invoked when opponent selects his move. So that move position will be given to this function, and what kind of mark he is putting there, like cross or zeros. So in that position, cross or zeros will be marked. And if before that, let me explain how is the array. So this is integer type array. So integer type array by default will be initialized to zeros. All the 9 places will be zeros. So 9 places will be zeros. And whenever a client for example, if the mark is x, let's see, first let's see this function first, cardinal. In the cardinal we will be like taking the position. So in the string message you will be passing the position. So when a client 1 enters his position like 1, that 1 is we read it from the socket and then pass it to this cardinal function. The cardinal function will be receiving message, string message as an argument, and also what kind of mark, that is x or 0, like cross or 0. So from that message we'll be converting into an integer type. So and integer type, so we'll be getting like 1 will be received as a string which will be converted to integer. And also we will be checking what is the mark, if the mark is a cross or 0. If the mark is cross, then it will be considered as 1. If the mark is 0, it will be considered as -1. So like that, we will be translating the meaning of crosses and 0. So cross will always be 1, and 0 O will always be -1 in this program. So after translating the which kind of mark it is, we will be sending that position and that mark to this function, which will actually mark in that array. So this will call this array we will call this function, that is mark zeros and crosses, which will be receiving position and what kind of mark it has to mark in that array. So in here we'll check for that in position in that array if it is 0. So by default all the positions will be 0 initially. If it is 0, then it will enter the mark, that is -1 or 1. And also for every marking, for every mark we will be incrementing this count. And if suppose this position is not 0, that is it is -1 or 1, that means that position is already occupied, like already that position is already used up. If it is so, then we will be throwing this exception called position already marked exception, which we will be handling in a game engine class. Then after that, after marking zeros and crosses, we will be checking if we can still continue the game or not. So this function will always be called after uh, every user's move. So let's see what is happening here in continue game or not. Count is equal to 9. So what is the meaning of count here? I told you about, like, in the mark zeros and crosses, whenever we are marking a position in the array, every time the count will be incremented. So for all the 9 places when we mark in the array, the count will become 9. And if the count becomes 9, that means there are no more possible moves left. That means the game has ended in draw. So the count will become 9 when all the 9 positions are marked. So if the count is equal to 9, then we'll be throwing an exception called game draw exception, which will also be handled in the game engine class. If the count is not equal to 9, then we will check if there is any possible threes formed in the array or not. So in the we will also be checking, um, so in the possible threes, what is our logic here is we will be taking 3 indexes together and add them and compare it with the sum. So what will be happening here, I told you, like, the x will be translated to as integer 1 and 0 will be o will be translated to as integer -1. So always for client 1 it will be the positions marked in the array will be 1, and for client 2 will always be marked as -1 in the array. So when 3 positions have 1 and if you add them together, the sum will become 3. And for client 2, if you add 3 places together, this, that is a -1 in 3 places, the sum will become -3. And so if anywhere the 3 or -3 forms, then that means that player has won. And we have also so here what we have done is array 0 or 1 2, so the first row will be added together to check if the sum if it has achieved the given sum or not. So for every combination I have written the possibilities here for every type of combinations, and it will be comparing with the sum. If any of the sum becomes a 3 type of 3, total sum becomes is it 3, it is true, then we will be throwing this exception, player 1 exception, also along with the positions the player has won. And let's what I'm passing in this argument here, the sum. So as I told you, like, for crosses, the one you will be translating it as 1 in this array. For zeros you will be translating it as -1 in the array. So all when you sum all the indexes with 1, the sum will become 3, and if we add all the indexes with -1, the sum will become -3. So here I am checking uh, what kind of mark that a client has. If the client is X, that means in this program 1. So if it is 1, then the sum should be 3. Then only the client 1 can win. If it is client 2, then his mark would be -1. So for client 1, client 2 to win, his sum should be -3. Then only the client 2 can win. Okay, so now that's how the client will be checking if there is 3 or not. If nothing is happening, it will return simply true, which has no meaning here right now, and go back to the game engine function. And last function in this tic-tac-toe program is this array to string. This is simply just converting the array to a string format, string readable format. This is nothing, just simple to type, print it in the readable format. That's all about the tic-tac-toe class. Let's go back to the game engine class. So back to the run where we saw last, so the play function, how this while is working here. So now let's see how the play function is working. So in the play function, okay, so in the play function, we simply created a string variable and one boolean variable which is false, which I will explain you a little bit. So what happens here, you in the this function you will be passing two arguments, that is the client details, client 1, client 2, and the mark. So the mark here will be of the first argument. So the first argument is c1 here. So c1's mark you will be passing here. So as you can see, we are using same function for both players. So in this line you can see, first we are passing client 1. For client 1 we are passing client 1 mark, which we have already created here. Client 1 is X and client 2 mark is 0. And so here we can see the first argument will be client 1, the second will be client 2. In the in the next line we can see the first argument this time is client 2 and second argument is client 1, and we are passing the mark of client 2, that is the first argument's mark we are passing. So you can see the difference here. So so this line means the client 1's move will be played here, and in this line the client 2's move will be played here. So let's see. uh, so first, so it's a simple basic logic. So when client one's move is being played here, so client one will message will be sent to a client one, please enter a number from 1 to 9. Okay, after that we will be waiting for client one's input, what his next move will be. After when he enters his move, for example 1, 2 or 3, whatever, it will be read from this read function that we saw in the client class, the read function, and it will return a uh, string object, which will be we storing it in the message variable, and this message variable will be passed to this function, that is the game dot cardinal. This game where we saw here, that is the game engine class, we had a tic-tac-toe variable here, object, game object. So in that game object, so in that game object we had something called cardinal function, which I explained you here about this cardinal, which will be marking the array and also checking for if the player has won, or if the game has concluded to draw or not. So it will be sending it there. And suppose, also I talked about if uh, the mark zeros and crosses will can send position already marked exception, and also continue in the continue game or not function it can send game draw exception or the player one exception. All these exceptions will be returned by will the cardinal function will be throwing it back to the game engine class. So here you will be getting some errors here, like exception you will be getting, so that exception will be handling here. So for example, if a position the entered position by client 1 is already marked, it will be throwing an exception, that is position already marked exception here. So if it is already marked, the client 1 will be given a message that the position is already marked, please select another. And since these lines are inside this while loop, it will run back again asking client to enter 1 to 9. Again the same message will be sent to the client and waiting for client's input. If the if next if the another time the given position is correct, like it is not already marked, so if it is possible, then this line will be executed without any problem. Then it will come to this next line, that is marked equal to true. The marked if it marked equal to true, it becomes true, then you can exit from this while loop. Okay, so that's how you will exit from this while loop. Otherwise, if there is any exception like position already marked, this line will not execute straight away, it will jump into this catch function, and again it will enter in this while loop, because it is like it is while of true right now. So when marked becomes true here, because of this negation symbol, it will become false, so it will exit. That is, like, for this context we are making it as marked equal to true. So after marking that position, uh, we will be sending both the clients the current what is the current state of our tic-tac-toe game. So we will be sending the current state to both players. Send current state to the players. Okay, so both players will be receiving the current state of the game. And after that, so the first player will be given a message that we are waiting for your opponent's move, and to the second to the opponent we will be sending, it is your move now. So like basic understanding. And so after that it will be again exiting and going back to this one. So going back to this this function back, so here we executed client 1, so next time it will execute client 2. The client 2 will be the first argument, so we are, you can see that we are utilizing the same function, because both will be having the same repetition only. So this time we will be sending client 2 as the first argument, so same thing will be happening here. This time c1 is actually the client 2, and uh, client 2's mark will be sent here, c2 mark is O, so that will be sent here. Same thing will be happening. And I told you game.cardinal will be throwing exceptions like position already marked, um, player 1 exception, game exception. So there are three types of exception, so we handle one exception here for uh, position already marked inside this while. If there's a game draw exception or player 1 exception, that is handled outside this while loop, that is already inside this try catch block. So if there is any exception thrown by this function here, it will straight away jump to this catch methods here that I have already declared here. So the player 1 exception and game draw exception. If it is player 1 exception, that client will be given a message, congrats, you have won. And in the PWE we had stored the positions. If you see how the exception class, you can see that PW is nothing, just sending what the position where the client 1 has won. And c2, for c2 will be sending a message that you have lost. And to both the clients we will be also sending the state of the game, current state, where what you have marked, whatever, like that. And same like game draw exception. For game draw exception, both clients will be given a message, you the game has ended in draw, and also will be sending the state of the game like the array. So that's all about that, like this game. So this is completely server side, you see, this is completely for server side program. I've created a simple client application. There is this simple for reading and writing. This client app, this there's nothing special about this program. So you can see here I created a socket with an IP and port, and we will be using the output stream, input stream. I have created a thread. Actually, two threads are here: thread read, thread write. So two threads are there. In that, we will be implementing simple uh, read logic, how to read and how to write. So these two threads will always be running. This is simple client socket read and write program. This there is nothing special about this. So let me run this program. So I have put this program into my GCP VM. So it is already running in my GCP VM. So now from my computer, I will running two clients here. So I have already feeded the IP in there. So I have let me show you that I have already entered IP, this IP, and already compiled this program. So this is my Windows. So let's this is my Windows terminal program. Here I have created like two panes, two tabs. So here I will be running my first client Java. Just compile and run this app. So first it will be asking your name. So for example, I will write in my name, and here, so in the second tab, again I will be running as a second client. Here I will be writing another name. Okay, so here in both it will be sending initial state. As you can see here in the server program, it is showing waiting for client 1 Jeremy, like client 1 join and the client 2 details. So it is asking, always the client 1 will be starting first. So client 1, it is asking enter a number. So I entered a position 1 x. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So 1 will be translated in the array as 0, and which will be for client 1 it will be x, which is in the logic it is actually 1. And now it is asking for client 2. So client 2 I will enter in 5 here. So let's try to win for client 1. So I'll be entering 2 here. Now let's block the client like this. You can keep on playing. So after every move it is telling waiting for opponent's move, and the first user will be receiving see like waiting for opponents. Now this time for this opponent, if you try to enter the same already marked position, for example this one, this is position 5, it will give you an error, position already occupied, please select another. So I will be selecting 6. Let's try to win for client 1 now. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7. So if I entered 7, it shows now these you won the position are 147 147 you won, and for the other client it says you lost at position 147. So that's how this program works. So yeah.